institutional capital into and growing outcomes at an astounding rate. I've seen her work personally over the last couple of years, and it is incredible. She makes an economic sense out of doing good for nature and people. Dominique Kuhn has shared her ideas with renowned thought leaders, including presidents, and we're honored to have her with us today as the innovative philanthropist that she is. Dominique, welcome. We also have Raul Novosa. We've met and worked together over the last couple of years with his work at UCLA and Oxford. One of the great academics working on bringing nature-based solutions into the capital markets. Welcome, Raul. And we also have Mr. Edward Russo, who I'm happy to say is with the Trump administration. This will be the first conversation from the administration about incoming policy. So over to you, Dominique.
I'm going to go straight to Ed Russo because I think he has an important message for all of us.
Good morning. I'd like to thank all the people of the Blue Green Ocean Fund as well as the World Economic Forum, Dominique Kuhn and Raul Hinojosa of the Existent Fund, and Ralph Chambe from the Blue Green Future for inviting me to speak to you all today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ed Russo, and I serve as the chairman of Donald J. Trump's White House Environmental Advisory Task Force. I've been his environmental advisor for over 24 years. Additionally, I serve as president of the Florida Keys Environmental Coalition, focusing on the protection of 34 threatened and endangered species in a national marine sanctuary, which is centered to a migratory superhighway. Very challenging effort. I also serve as a member of the board of directors of Reef Relief, responsible for protecting the coral reef system surrounding the Florida Keys archipelago, which is the largest in the Northern Hemisphere. I was honored last year and nominated for the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize for my innovations in bringing fresh, healthy, clean drinking water to people who have none in sub-Saharan Africa and beyond. Enough about me. President Trump has always been committed to clean water, air, and soil. Surprise, surprise. The United States and the world must focus on the global effort to preserve and protect our environment for future generations. We must expand our efforts to promote economic and environmental sustainability in order to continue this important mission. I'm particularly excited about today's session, this particular session, which allows us to come together and discuss one of the most pressing and transformative ideas of our time, reshaping how we think about value creation, investment, and sustainability. Our task force looks forward to working with all of you to incorporate important positive change to make our world a cleaner and safer place. We serve at the pleasure of the president. He believes in a common sense solution and approach to the environment. Again, thank you for allowing me to address you today and participate in the World Economic Forum. Dominique.
Thank you. And thank you to our host, the Ocean Climate Fund, founded by Stan, for having us at the Hub Culture Icon. I've come here to Davos during the World Economic Forum with exciting news for nature. Directly from Washington, D.C., where President Donald J. Trump was sworn in for his second time as the 47th President of the United States. While there, it was surreal to meet with Nobel Peace Prize nominated Ed Russo and chairman of President Donald Trump's White House Environmental Task Force. As you can imagine, the Environmental Task Force is tasked with the greatest task of our time. As a private philanthropist, my intention for creating the Existence Fund was to create substantial economic growth capabilities for Indigenous migrant and frontline communities through offering the most efficient and advanced mechanism that could accelerate sub-fund creation to iterate indefinitely in ethically evolving the nature investment space. The founding advisors of Existence are people focused on the environment at the nexus point of humanity, like 3-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee Ilwad Elman, who's here in the room, and Kweku Mandela. That's Nelson Mandela's grandson, who has raised an astonishing $9 billion for philanthropy. The Existence Fund is a blended finance vehicle with the highest sustainability standards available so far in the world, and possesses even Article 9 RAFE structure standards of do no harm on the 5 pillars of planetary health. Our investments can be for-profit or philanthropic, and distributing funds to anywhere in the world. Existence utilizes the vision of people like Dr. Raul Hinojosa, who are committed to redesigning sustainable development structures to de-risk communities, and that gives me hope. This de-risking serves the job creation of ecological livelihoods. Cool jobs that are good for nature. Jobs in regenerative agriculture, conservation, ecotourism, or any pathway that provides economic improvement for localized communities, while serving the long-term sustainability and regeneration of water and food sources. It turns out that when people around the world can take care of themselves and the places where they live, sometimes in our most important viable ecological systems like biodiverse regions, they do not migrate, nor would they want to. This supports the source of conflict resolution, national security, and long-term ecological conservation everywhere. It supports the ability of the planet to restore itself and regenerate our natural resources. When Indigenous people get to remain on their lands, they are absolutely the best stewards of those unique places of incredible natural biodiversity. And it makes sense why. It's their home. When Dr. Ralph Chami, who was just on the last panel, valued the whales' activities, the Maori Indigenous community who are protecting those same whales are now finding ways to not just stop whales being killed, but finding ways to increase the whale populations. And this is awesome. I mean, this action is not just conservation, it's community-based regeneration. Now, as humanity begins halting the extinctions of animals and plant species, and then actually increasing their abundance, that increase is called nature positivity. And when people secure economic livelihoods by doing this work, it's people positive. The new goal is people and nature positive, because we actually can appropriately align our incentives. With the support of many brilliant people tackling sustainable development, Ralph Chami, the economist renowned for his 25 years in fragile state development, then applied his same economic capacity and ingenuity to nature. Even though he's an economist, his economic environmental work soon named him one of the environment's highest honors. Dr. Ralph Chami is now a planetary guardian, joining the likes of icon Jane Goodall and ocean icon Sylvia Earle. I first met Dr. Ralph Chami on Necker Island with the super cool Sir Richard Branson, who, like me, was blown away by Chami's valuations of whale activities, salt marshes, forest elephants, and seagrass just being seagrass. It's possibly, and now possibly, a huge flying river over the Amazon. So it's all about the economic co-benefits that nature generates and macro-scale cost savings. Can you imagine that one day your island nation's seagrass is worth nothing? And then the next day, just doing what seagrass does, living for itself, and it turns out it actually does a lot, is now worth over $100 billion. The actual Bahamas seagrass restoration project is valued at $150 billion. That is the beginning of the real nature markets. This is because seagrass is actually really valuable by just living for itself and increasing fish stocks, supporting sustainable fishing jobs, creating a natural flood disaster wall, saving us a substantial amount of disaster relief floods, generating a higher net worth for their national GDP, which then creates better positions for them in paying down their national debts, and securing funding for sources of sustainable infrastructure projects, including sustainable waste management, education, health care, and more. Dude, seagrass is doing a lot, okay? Oh, and it is also cleaning the ocean water for life on Earth, including our own. This project is life-changing for a small island nation and the communities that live there. Don't forget, it protects our little friend too, the actual seagrass, and helps it to support the abundance that we all desire. Can you imagine when the United States begins valuing the activities and services of its own nature? Talk about an awesome actual public-private partnership. Valuing nature will literally increase the GDP of the globe by not just billions, but trillions of dollars to incentivize us to regenerate our soil, to clean our air, to secure human health, and to protect and increase all the incredibly cool complexities of nature, which honestly we're just beginning to understand. What we do know is that living plants, animals, fungi, and bug life are playing various roles in things like replenishing healthy biomes, like microbiomes, increasing freshwater production, creating oxygen, oxygen creation, super, super important to us. And yes, also sequestering carbon dioxide, methane, and pollutants. Existence is about utilizing brilliant minds and the systems available to us right now, including technological and financial, to support our inherent desire to sustain life on our planet. Existence works for nature because it works for people. We are only human. And we love our beautiful home, planet Earth. There couldn't be a better time for the environmental movement than right now, because of right now, we're focused on nature. Trump is also focused on nature. Nature generates the feedback loops of life support that keep us within planetary boundaries. I'm stoked to be here during the World Economic Forum 2025, speaking about this pivotal moment in the shift for nature. It is nature. And I'm absolutely glad to be here with exceptional folks like Dr. Eleni Hossa, 3-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee Elad Elman, planetary guardian Ralph Chami, and President Donald Trump's White House Environmental Advisory Task Force Chairman, Ed Russo, who understands the importance of existence. Now, I think Raul should speak, and then perhaps Ed Russo can give his closing remarks.
Thank you, Dominique. And hi, Ed. How are you? You're in
Raul.
Louisville. Good to see you. I wanted to talk today about how we first met, Edward Russo and I. We were brought together by the Nobel Sustainability Trust to speak at a panel in UC Berkeley. And I'm going to tell you basically what I told him then, which started a fascinating conversation leading to where we are now. At that time, I explained that I had been creating relationships between Democratic and Republican administrations for many years. During the 90s, working with President Bill Clinton and George Herbert Walker Bush, I proposed the creation of the North American Development Bank as a way of bridging the political divides around the discussions of NAFTA. And how do we focus the questions of trade, migration, and infrastructure investing towards a better cooperative relationship between the United States and Mexico. Fortunately, that was adopted by highly bipartisan fashion, and we created the first binational environmental development bank in history, and which in the first few years did over $10 billion of infrastructure work along the U.S.-Mexican border. So it was a hope that we can bridge these very serious political divides and actually focus on ways of thinking about the world and nature. Fast forward, I was frustrated, frankly, about the work of the NAD Bank, and because it ignored one of the most important financial flows and economic flows that we need to be concerned of. The people that are going to clean this room probably today are immigrants. And they, around the world, 690 million of them are sending back over $700 billion in remittances. And the question is, unfortunately, almost all of that is financial flows that are in cash, that are outside of the financial system. The question was, how do we generate an ability to capture that and use these resources, which again, are going back through indigenous migrant frontline communities directly into the areas most affected by climate transformations and biodiversity loss, and that could be our partners in the frontline struggles as we've been seeing here today. So Ed and I talked about how do we focus potentially on real projects. That's what we want to do. How do we really get making sure that these financial flows we become intelligently directed towards addressing their sustainability in a nature positive way. And then I told him about the work that I'm doing with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, right? What we've now done is launched a mechanisms whereby immigrants in the United States can send money back through digital channels directly into indigenous migrant frontline communities in Mexico to invest in sustainable development bonds in these communities. And we saw an area of hope, right, frankly. It got the room excited just like it did here back then. So what Ed and I are now committed to doing, working with this task force, is these types of actual projects that will focus on empowering these flows of migrants and remittances in a positive way, directly to address the challenge and of how do we empower the frontline communities to invest in our partnerships that we've been talking about here. So we're looking very forward to working with Existence Fund in partnership with literally hundreds of thousands of community-based credit unions around the world connected to immigrants that we need to value and empower in this way as partners in this. So hopefully there's hope in the world, and frankly, my relationship, I thank you so much, Ed, for being a friend in this challenge that we are now jointly facing, and we're with you, we got your back. So thank you very much.
With all my life dedicated to environmental crusading, like most of the people in this room, the question that comes up to me a lot is, how can you be part of the MAGA movement? How is that possible? Well, the MAGA movement to me is make America green again. And has resulted in him supporting every crazy environmental initiative I've ever advanced. Stream stabilization, erosion control, habitat expansion, and improvement, air and water quality issues have to be addressed, and that's the work that really matters. Money is important, but we have that. Thank you, Dominic. There seems to be no end to the demand of our work. So the demand is there, the money is there, the solutions are there, and technology is providing new solutions every day. What we don't have, what's missing, is leadership. And that's why we have to focus our efforts and making improvements in the field, stopping pollution to death, stopping things that are making people sick to death. And that's the frustrating that comes into my life. Because tonight, when everybody here puts their head on the pillow, there are children out there getting sick from malnutrition and water pollution today. Now, yes, we can talk about climate change, we can talk about all those important things, and they are important things. And the importance of the oceans and seagrass. Seagrass, that's just great. I mean, that's where the focus of our effort should be, because in every blade of grass is a filter, is something that provides for a habitat. It's seagrass and all the things, the coral reefs, all of those things are extremely important. But we're not doing a good job. We're not out there doing as much as we should, not even close. The coral reefs that I'm responsible for in and around the Florida Keys, they're in trouble, serious trouble. Why is that? Well, because the water quality in the area is failing, seriously failing. Yes, there are people out there who talk about, the warming of the seas and again, climate change as the distraction of that's something kind of esoteric that we can, talk about and raise money with, but it doesn't really get us in the field to do the right things. And so there are PFAS problems coming into our drinking water. There's discharges from our treatment plants. And that is where our focus should be. Make the water quality better. Start with that. Start with things we know how to do. Get rid of that stuff. And then we have a fighting chance. Because unless we address water quality issues in our oceans around the world, and I live on an island, I know how important that is. I know what energy generation is. Here in Key West, we have a lot of solar power, we have tidal energy, we have wind energy, we should be an exporter of energy. But no, 90% of our energy that we get comes from the burning of fossil fuels. How dumb is that? So we have a lot of improvements, we can do a lot of things. But the beginning is to refocus our efforts in doing things in the field. And the coming to these meetings is nice, and we meet a lot of nice people and all that kind of things, but I implore you, go back to your homes, look at the areas in your cities and in your regions, in your countries, and focus on the improvements that you can make where you are. Find out the top 5 environmental threats to your home and your family, and focus on those things. That's what's important. That's gonna make the big difference. Again, I thank everybody. Thank you for listening to me. I will do the best I can to make the United States proud and be a leader in environmental remediation around the world. Follow us. I think we're going to do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be a part of this, and thank you so much, Ed Russo, for making the time to come visit us here in Davos during the World Economic Forum. Thank you again, Stan, for hosting us with Hub Culture, Icon. I think we've got some icons here, so thanks a lot.
Just one question.
Oh yes, one question.
Yeah, Mr. Rousseau, we're in the world's first regenerative construction system. This is the world's first regenerative building that we built for Davos Week. And with the fires that just happened in California, there's been an emerging conversation here about ways that we can remediate the damage that's happened in California. I just have a question if you have any thoughts about that. Our goal is to bring this building or a version of it to put in the center of the Palisades to become an iconic destination for the redevelopment of the work there. And I'm just curious if the administration has any thoughts on where things are going to go in California and what we can do to help.
I couldn't hear that, Dominique.
Maybe you
All right,
can.
well let's actually do that one offline, because I think I'm from California, so we'll have a great discussion and we'll bring Edmund to that one where he can hear it.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you everybody. I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
for
Again,
this.
early in Kentucky for us. Thank you.
Oh,